going, everyone? And welcome to the Enclave. We are back again. If you guys saw chapter 3 of the Firearms Legal Theory, we went through that, and I'm right back like I said I would be to go through chapter 5. So as always, it's on the side. We're going to get your information up there for you so that you can follow along. And we are going to go through chapter 5, which is the Competency Certificate information. So this is basically something that annoys me about the legal book a little bit, is that it's very repetitive. So basically a lot of what's covered in this chapter 5 is going to be the things that will prohibit you from getting a firearm competency. And like I say, a lot of it is repeated. So later in the book, we will go through this again. I'm pretty sure of it. I might end up just glossing over it quite quickly, but here we will give it a little bit of a read through because it is the first time in the book that we've encountered this information. So we're going to give it a little bit of a look. Like I said in my last video, please bear with me looking off to that side of the camera. I do have my phone there with my home security camera feed on it. I am watching for a delivery. So also if this video cuts and then carries on, you'll know that my delivery arrived and I just went to grab it. It's actually a wall mounting TV bracket that's going to go in the corner there for a TV that is sitting right here next to me. So yeah, anyways, let us get into competency certificates. So basically what this goes into is a little bit of what we've covered before, and once again, like I say, a little bit of what we will cover again later. So any application for competency needs to be handed in to your closest DFO. That is point number 1. That is, like I said, the officer at your nearest police station. He is going to be the designated firearms officer that you deal with for your first time competency, your subsequent competencies for the other guns, your licensing, and also then subsequently the renewal of licenses. So he's going to be your point of contact for all those things. If you have not previously acquired a competency certificate, which is actually the nice thing about the way that I've done it, is that I've gone for the competency certificate for my handgun, and then once I've received that, sorry, just had a random phone call from a number I don't know. Once I receive that, getting the competency for these 3 guns will be a lot easier. So that is something that is pretty cool about the way I've done it. The problem with it is it does take a bit of time. So you're gonna have to wait approximately 3 months for the actual competency for the handgun. And then when you do your other 3, fine, it'll be a little bit quicker and it'll potentially be a little bit less debate as to whether you're competent or not. But it is still gonna take some time. So overall, instead of looking at 3 months for all 3, you're going to be looking at 3 months potentially for the initial one, and then a little bit of time subsequently, maybe a little bit less, maybe 2 months, potentially still 3 months for the other guns. So, sorry, now I'm like, I keep feeling like if that person phones back, I should answer because it might be the courier or something. But I am looking, there is no one outside. So I'm not too sure. Like if they call back, then I'll pause the video quick and I will answer. But anyway, sorry about that. I'm now like bugging out because my phone's actually on complete silent. So I didn't get to hear the the ringing. I just got to look at my phone and see that it was ringing, obviously. Anyways, where a person has not previously obtained a competency certificate, a competency certificate may only be issued to such person if he or she And here is where we get into all the things where you will not be able to own competency, or will not be able to earn competency, I suppose, for X type of firearm. You need to be 21 years or older. There are there are limitations to that, or I should say exemptions to that. If you are a sports shooter below the age of 21 but above the age of 16, you are not allowed to do it before the age of 16. With parental consent, you need a lot of help from your parents. Like your parents really need to want you to have a gun license, or you're not going to get it before the age of 21. I did actually speak to a couple people about that. It is possible, absolutely. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but it is quite difficult, especially in the case where the parents are not firearm owners. So, because then you can't ride on your parents' competency or your parents' license. You then basically have to be declared competent yourself. And I think even for me personally, I don't know many 16-year-olds that I would just hand a firearm to. That's just me. Hell, I'll be real, I don't know many adults I would just hand a firearm to. I handed someone a toy gun the other day, and the first thing they did was pretty much pointed at me and pulled the trigger, and I thought to myself, sweet Lord, that would have been the end of me. And fine, it was a toy gun, everyone knew it was a toy gun, but as we know, the 4 fundamental rules of firearms is you don't do that, even if it is a toy gun. But anyways, so you need to be a South African citizen, obviously, or a holder of a permanent South African residence. So that is pretty straightforward. Most of these are pretty straightforward. You need to be in stable mental condition. You need to not be dependent on any drug or substance. That includes prescription medication. Things like antidepressants. You need to disclose that. Things like psychiatric treatments. If you're in a weekly or a bi-weekly or whatever therapy session, things like that, you're gonna need to disclose why. And I must admit, it was a question that was asked to all my references when they were interviewed, is what is his mental condition like? How does he react to anger? Like, is he quick to anger? Does he have a short fuse? Does he have a temper? Things like that. And things like that are going to weigh quite heavily on your first competency, absolutely. Because, like I said initially, they're trying to stop lunatics from becoming gun-toting lunatics. And all it takes is 3 friends or 2 friends and a family member to say, nah, he's cool. And we've got people running around with guns they really shouldn't have access to. So, has not been convicted of an offence in terms of the previous act and sentenced to a period of imprisonment without the option of a fine. So, basically, anything in this act, in this book, if you have been convicted of it and you have been imprisoned, you're not going to be allowed to have a firearm. And I'll be honest with you, the rest of this, fraud, inside or outside the country, dealing in drugs, inside or outside the country, domestic violence, immediate, they will not give it to you. If you have been, if an officer has been to your house for a domestic violence call, even if no one was arrested, you will not get a firearm. Sorry to say, shouldn't have beat your wife. Actually, not sorry to say. If the police have been called to your house for domestic violence, things have gotten too far. I'm all for, like my wife and I have disagreements, we have arguments, there are plenty of things we do not agree on. In fact, almost once a week we will discuss the things we don't agree on. But at the end of the day, we don't scream and shout and throw things at each other and that, yeah. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's see, what else have we got here? Sabotage, terrorism, public violence, arson, intimidation, rape, kidnapping, child stealing. That's pretty obvious. And where I say it gets quite repetitive is that they keep going on about individual crimes. But then, in other places in the book, they will say you could not have been convicted and imprisoned for any crime. So to me, it feels a little bit silly to have this literal double page, as you guys will see. It's the bottom half of one page and the top half of the following page, telling you trafficking, this, beating your wife, etc., etc. When if you have been imprisoned, you're not allowed to have a firearms license. That is it. Sorry to say. There are certain crimes that I'm sure we will cover at some point where if they were committed more than 5 years ago and you have been clean and clear with no additional charges for 5 years, you can go through the legal process to basically get that record expunged. And what will happen is they will remove that record and you can then apply for a competency and they will then grant it to you. The problem with that is that it's a very limited set of crimes that you could have committed. You can't have... Yeah, anyway, we're not going to go too deep into things. I don't want this video completely unmonetizable in 20 years. And then also has not become declared unfit for any other reason. So when you apply for competency, what happens is they declare you fit or unfit to possess firearms. If you have been declared unfit to possess a handgun, you can't go back next week and say, hi there, I'd like a competency for a shotgun, because they'll just say, have you ever applied for a competency before? You say, yes, last week it was denied. They'll say, sorry, then this one's gonna be denied, and they'll send you walking out the door. So, sorry, courier check again. Conspiracy, incitement, attempt to commit such offense, means to blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you pretty much can't be a criminal, okay? Because I'm sorry to say, but if you've been convicted and imprisoned for any offense, you are a criminal. So quite simply, to attain competency, you need to be over the age of 21, you need to be a valid South African citizen and or permanent resident, you need to be of sound mental mind and or body. Actually, you know what, I think disabled people could actually get a firearms permit, so ignore that body part. But you need to be of sound mind and you need to not be a criminal. It's actually not that many bars to check. Like here we've got it broken up into 6 sections with about 30 points in between, as you guys can see. But quite simply, don't beat your wife, don't break the law, be over the age of 21, don't do drugs, and be of sound mind. And that's that. It's actually not that difficult to apply for a competency. So that is pretty much that. Thank you so much for watching. This one was a little bit longer, but we did get a couple of interruptions here and there that delayed me a bit. I'm sorry for that. But yeah, that is pretty much that. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to pretty much flip the page, start on chapter 6, and we're going to keep going. Like I said in the first video, I'm going to try and finish this book today, and yeah, that is pretty much that. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks again for joining the Enclave. I apologize for my squeaky chair. We are going to sort that out. But thanks so much for watching. Peace out.